Welcome back to Epic Ranking. Today we're celebrating the most unforgettable moments in gaming history. These are the moments that made us scream, cheer, and sometimes even cry. Don't lie, we know you teared up too. So sit back and get ready as we count down the top 30 best moments in video games. Let's do this. Minecraft is a game all about creativity and survival, but the very first night, that's pure terror. You start with nothing, just your fists and whatever you've managed to gather before the sun sets. The moment you realize the sun is going down and mobs like creepers and zombies start spawning, that's when the panic sets in. You quickly learn the importance of building a shelter, no matter how basic, and that first night is a crash course in survival. It's a rite of passage for every Minecraft player, and once you've survived, you're ready to conquer the world, or at least avoid getting blown up by a creeper. Voss, the psychotic villain of Far Cry 3, delivers one of the most memorable monologues in gaming history, the definition of insanity speech. It's a chilling moment where you realize just how unhinged this guy really is. The intensity of the scene, combined with Voss's unpredictable nature, makes for a nerve-wracking and unforgettable experience. And after hearing him describe insanity as doing the same thing over and over again, you start wondering if he's talking about the endless cycle of side missions you've been doing. When it comes to thrilling action moments, Uncharted 2 Among Thieves delivers one of the best in the famous train sequence. As Nathan Drake, you find yourself in the middle of a high-speed chase, jumping between train cars, dodging gunfire, and narrowly avoiding being crushed or derailed. It's like playing through an action movie, and the pacing is incredible. Every time you think you've escaped danger, the game throws something new at you. It's intense, cinematic, and pure Uncharted, the ultimate Indiana Jones moment of gaming. In Shadow of the Colossus, the moment you defeat your first giant beast is a bittersweet one. You've just taken down a massive, majestic creature, and instead of feeling victorious, you're left with a sense of guilt. Did you really need to kill that giant? It wasn't hurting anyone. This mix of triumph and sorrow sets the tone for the entire game, making each encounter with the Colossi feel like a tragic, heroic act. You're the hero, but also kind of the villain? If there's one moment that made everyone scream nope in Resident Evil 4, it's the first encounter with the chainsaw-wielding villager. The sound of that chainsaw revving up, the sudden rush of panic, and the realization that this dude can take your head off with a single swing? Yeah, pure nightmare fuel. The entire village sequence is tense, but the chainsaw guy takes it to a whole new level. You either run for your life or face the terrifying consequence of seeing Leon's head roll. Love it or hate it, Modern Warfare 2's No Russian mission is one of the most controversial moments in gaming. Playing as an undercover operative during a terrorist attack in an airport, you're given the option to participate or not in a massacre. It's a moment that shocked players and sparked debates about morality in games. Whether you chose to pull the trigger or not, the mission left a lasting impression, and its impact is still talked about to this day. It's one of those moments where you realize just how far video games have come in terms of storytelling. In Arkham Asylum, the moment the Joker takes over the Asylum's security system and locks you inside with all of Gotham's worst criminals is a classic uh-oh moment. You're Batman, sure, but this time, you're playing by the Joker's rules. The Asylum transforms into a terrifying gauntlet of traps and enemies, and you get the sense that you're just as much a prisoner as the criminals you've put away. It's a masterclass in setting the tone, and the Joker's twisted sense of humor keeps you on edge the entire time. One of the most mind-blowing moments in gaming history comes from Metal Gear Solid when you face off against Psycho Mantis. This isn't just any boss fight. Psycho Mantis breaks the fourth wall in a way no one saw coming. He claims he can read your mind, and then proceeds to read your memory card, calling out specific games you've played and even making your controller move across the floor if you have Rumble enabled. It's an unforgettable moment that left players wide-eyed in disbelief. Plus, you had to outsmart him by switching your controller port, which felt like you were hacking the game itself. This is classic Kojima, crazy, inventive, and brilliant all at once. In Journey, the moment you and a fellow traveler reach the summit of the mountain is nothing short of magical. After a long trek through deserts, ruins, and snowy wastelands, you and your companion, who might be a complete stranger, finally make it to the top, and the game's music swells in one of the most emotional climaxes in gaming. It's not about beating enemies or completing objectives, it's about the experience of reaching a goal together. Journey proves that sometimes the most powerful moments in games aren't about what you do, but how you feel. Mass Effect 3 is filled with tough choices, but one of the most emotional moments comes when you say your final goodbyes to your crew before the final mission. Every conversation feels loaded with meaning, as you realize that some of your companions may not make it back. The stakes have never been higher, and this is the moment when you feel the weight of your decisions from the entire trilogy. It's a bittersweet send-off to the characters you've grown attached to over 3 games, and depending on your choices, it's either a final farewell or a hopeful reunion. Either way, it's a deeply personal moment that resonates with every Mass Effect fan. Telltale's The Walking Dead isn't shy about delivering emotional gutches, but nothing hits harder than Lee's final moments with Clementine. After spending the entire season protecting her, you're faced with an impossible choice. Tell her to leave you or end your suffering. Either way, it's heartbreaking. The connection between Lee and Clementine is the heart of the game, and their goodbye is one of the most emotional moments in all of gaming. Even the toughest players had to reach for a tissue after this one. Emerging from Vault 101 in Fallout 3 is a moment of pure awe. After spending the opening hours of the game in the dark, claustrophobic vault, you step into the wasteland for the first time, and the world opens up before you. The sun blinds you, the landscape stretches out into the horizon, and you're hit with the realization that this is your new reality. It's a moment of freedom and dread all at once, and it sets the tone for the rest of the game. Welcome to the wasteland, kid. Good luck. God of War 3 is filled with epic boss battles, but none are more brutal than Kratos' fight with Poseidon. You don't just beat Poseidon, you absolutely destroy him in one of the most graphic, intense moments in the series. The camera even switches to Poseidon's perspective as Kratos finishes the job, making you feel every hit. It's a violent, visceral scene that sets the tone for the rest of the game. Kratos is on a rampage, and nothing, or no god, is going to stand in his way. Half-Life 2 Episode 2 ends on a cliffhanger that still haunts players to this day. Eli Vance, one of the game's most beloved characters, is killed in front of his daughter, Alex. It's a moment that comes out of nowhere, and it's made even more heartbreaking by the fact that we've been waiting over a decade for closure. It's a gut-wrenching moment that left players stunned, and the fact that we still don't know what happens next? Yeah, that's the real torture. In Assassin's Creed 2, the moment that sets Ezio on his path to becoming an assassin is one of the most shocking in the series. His father and brothers are betrayed and publicly executed, leaving Ezio alone and seeking vengeance. Watching Ezio's family be torn apart is a brutal reminder of the cost of power and corruption, and it's the emotional driving force behind the rest of the game. This moment is raw, emotional, and sets up Ezio's journey for revenge, making it one of the most memorable scenes in the Assassin's Creed franchise. John Marston's last stand in Red Dead Redemption. After spending the entire game running from his past, John faces the inevitable in a blaze of bullets. It's a scene straight out of a Western movie, but this time, you're the one pulling the trigger. And probably shedding a tear while doing it. The build-up, the tension, and the bittersweet ending all come together in a moment that leaves you emotionally wrecked. But hey, if you're going to go out in style, right? There's something truly magical about pulling the Master Sword from its pedestal for the first time in Ocarina of Time. It's the moment when you realize, oh, I'm not just a kid anymore, I'm a freaking hero. The transition from young Link to adult Link blew our minds back in the day, and it's still one of the most iconic moments in gaming history. It's like Excalibur, but with more rupees and fewer knights. And let's be honest, every time you replay the game, you still get chills during that scene. Few missions in gaming are as stressful as Mass Effect 2's suicide mission. You've spent hours building relationships, upgrading your ship, and preparing for this moment, and then it all comes down to a series of life or death decisions. One wrong call, and you could lose a crew member, or all of them if you're really unlucky. It's tense, nerve-wracking, and perfectly designed to make you second-guess everything. But when you manage to pull it off flawlessly, there's no better feeling. Shepard's crew never felt more like family, and that final escape scene? Chef's kiss. Few gaming moments are as epic as the Battle of Kaer Morhen in The Witcher 3. This is the moment when all your preparation, all your alliances, and all your decisions come together for an all-out war. You gather your friends, prepare the fortress, and brace for the Wild Hunt's attack. It's a battle that feels truly monumental. The stakes are high, and the relationships you've built throughout the game make the battle even more personal. And when it's all over, the emotional toll is as heavy as the physical one. Geralt may be a seasoned warrior, but even he's not immune to the weight of war. After all the tension, fear, and heartbreak in The Last of Us, there's a brief moment of peace that stands out, when Ellie and Joel come across a herd of giraffes. It's a reminder that even in the most brutal, post-apocalyptic world, there's still beauty to be found. For a second, you forget about the clickers and the heartbreak, and just enjoy a quiet moment with these two characters you've come to love. And let's be honest, who didn't want to pet the giraffes? You've had some intense sniper battles in video games, but nothing compares to your fight with the End in Metal Gear Solid 3: Snake Eater. This elderly sniper forces you into a deadly game of cat and mouse across an expansive jungle. It's not just about who has the best aim, it's about patience, strategy, and outwitting a guy who could easily nap through half the fight, and sometimes does. What's even funnier? You can skip this epic battle entirely by letting him die of old age if you wait too long between game sessions. Yeah, you outlasted him. Literally. You knew this one was coming. Portal gave us one of the most iconic gaming phrases of all time. The cake is a lie. From the moment you started solving puzzles with your trusty portal gun, GLaDOS promised you cake if you could just keep going. And as you got deeper into the Aperture Science facility, it became clear there was no cake. It's a perfectly weird and hilarious twist that became an instant meme. And let's be honest, we're all still a little bitter about that cake promise. In God of War, there are a lot of epic moments, but none quite as jaw-dropping as when Kratos and Atreus first meet Jormungandr, the world's serpent. The sheer scale of this creature is mind-blowing, and the fact that he's not immediately trying to kill you? Even better. The world serpent's booming voice and mysterious connection to the world's events left us all in awe. Plus, he's surprisingly chill for a giant snake that could swallow continents. You know, just a normal day for Kratos. You knew this one was coming. Even if you've never played Final Fantasy VII, you've probably heard about the moment that made an entire generation of gamers cry. Aerith's death at the hands of Sephiroth was a gut punch no one saw coming. One moment you're thinking, oh, it's a nice little cutscene, and the next, well, you know. It's one of those moments that sticks with you, even years later. And no, we're still not over it. Thanks, Sephiroth. There are plenty of unforgettable moments in The Witcher 3, but none hit quite as hard as the Bloody Baron questline. What starts out as a simple mission to track down a missing person quickly spirals into one of the most heartbreaking, complex stories in the game. The decisions you make here have real consequences, and no matter how it ends, you're left with a pit in your stomach. It's a masterclass in storytelling, and it's moments like this that make The Witcher 3 one of the greatest RPGs of all time. And no, there's no happy ending here, just a lot of emotional baggage. One of the most emotional and cinematic moments in gaming history comes from Red Dead Redemption 2 during Arthur Morgan's final ride. As the game reaches its emotional climax, Arthur, knowing his fate is sealed, rides into the sunset one last time while the song "That's the Way It Is" plays. It's a poignant, reflective moment, filled with the weight of all the decisions you've made throughout the game. This scene captures the full depth of Arthur's character arc, transforming him from an outlaw seeking redemption to a man facing his mortality. The stunning visuals, the emotional music, and the sense of finality make this one of the most unforgettable and heart-wrenching moments in gaming. If you've ever played Dark Souls, then you know the pain of facing Ornstein and Smough. These two bosses are the ultimate tag team, and defeating them feels like one of the greatest accomplishments in gaming. The fight is a relentless dance of dodging, blocking, and praying you don't get crushed. But when you finally take them down, oh, the sweet, sweet victory. It's the kind of moment that makes all the suffering worth it, until you realize the game's about to throw something even harder at you. Talk about a plot twist. In Bioshock, everything you thought you knew gets flipped on its head when Andrew Ryan drops the bombshell. Would you kindly? Throughout the game, you've been following orders, thinking you're in control, only to discover you've been manipulated the entire time. It's one of those moments where you just sit there in disbelief, controller in hand, wondering how you missed all the clues. It's the kind of twist that makes you want to replay the game immediately, just to see it all from a new perspective. There are a lot of epic moments in Skyrim, but nothing quite compares to your first dragon fight. You're wandering the open world, minding your own business, when suddenly you hear the iconic roar. The sky darkens, the music swells, and you're thrown into a battle with a creature straight out of legend. The sense of scale, the intensity of the fight, and that feeling of finally slaying the beast, absolutely unforgettable. And when you absorb that first dragon soul, you feel like a true dragonborn. We've saved the best for last. In Breath of the Wild, the journey to Hyrule Castle is one of the most thrilling experiences in gaming. After hundreds of hours of exploration, puzzle solving, and defeating enemies, you finally make your way to the heart of the kingdom. The music shifts, the stakes are raised, and you know Ganon is waiting. But the journey to the top of the castle is half the fun. Whether you're stealthily avoiding guardians or storming through the front gates, it's a moment that feels like the culmination of everything you've worked for. And when you finally confront Ganon, it's nothing short of epic. And there you have it. The top 30 best moments in video games. These are the moments that made us cheer, cry, and scream in disbelief. What moments made it onto your list? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more epic rankings. Until next time, this is Epic Ranking, signing off.